The last things I want to show about how you can work with your GitHub repository are a few things. I want to make sure that I cover how the README file works, so we're going to start off by taking a look at that. The README file here, you'll notice, is a file that actually got created in my repository. It's a readme.md file. That MD file is a markdown file. This is useful because it's actually going to be editable inside of source control in Git. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and modify this to add a little bit of a description about our project. When we take a look at the modifications we just made, you can see in this preview that we've got some headings, some smaller headings, and we have a lot of control over what comes up here. This is important because of one thing. We're going to go ahead and save this now. Notice here that I have a commit summary window. Here I'm going to say, added some information to the README. Now when I click commit, if we check the history of this repository, you will actually see that we have made a modification. You can see here the most recent commit is added some information to the README. You can also see now that when we're on the main page of the repository, that README appears here. So this is the first information that people see about this. So it's very important. Let's take a look at our commits. We have the initial commit, which is the one that was set up when we created our repository, and we now also have that we added some information to the README. That's really awesome. The next thing I want to show is this .gitignore file. You'll notice this is also in source control. We created this before because this has patterns that describe different parts of our projects, different files that we want to exclude. You'll notice in here that some of the build folders, the bin and object folders, are being excluded. They're listed in here because these are the ones that are not supposed to get checked in. So these are all the files that you actually build. Clearly, we just need the source code, because anybody that gets the source code could build these files. You'll notice that we're not excluding the DLL files. That's because those are the files that are occasionally used as references that we might want to include, so it's doing folder exclusions instead. It's also getting rid of user-specific files and some other files that are common in Visual Studio C# projects. Remember, we picked C# as our language, so that's why all of these have to do with C#. We could also edit right here, or edit it in our regular source control workflow. Either way works just fine. The last thing that we want to take a look at, that I really want to show, it's very powerful, is this Clone in Desktop button. So cloning is the process of getting your local repository. So remember, with a distributed version control system, we have our own local repository. The server at GitHub also has a repository. The reason it's called cloning is because we're just getting a copy of the one that they're using, and we're going to work with that one locally. So now I'm going to click this button and we're going to see what happens. So now I'm presented with the option to log in. I'm going to go ahead and log in with that user account now. And now you'll notice it automatically went and cloned that repository and got me an instance of it. You can see our commit histories there, my user account is the one that we're logged in with, and everything's been set up and working. So you'll notice I just clicked a button on the website and immediately I've got a local copy. That is one of the most convenient features in GitHub. If you're not using it, you really should be.